Hi, my name is Kim Hornsby. I'm the Jackson County 4-H agent for youth development. I work for the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture, Food, and the Environment Cooperative Extension Service. On our last episode of Horse Sense, it's been a little while ago, we talked about the different types of Western saddles. I showed you how to correctly saddle and unsaddle your horses, and I also talked about some different types of equipment that can be used for Western riding that's comfortable for both you and your horse. On today's episode, we are going to begin a little series. It's going to be broken into several different parts, and the series is going to be called Solving the Bit Mystery. So if you've ever struggled with finding a bit that works for you and your horse, then this is definitely going to be a helpful little series to watch. And the objective of this series is to just basically give general information that's going to help you understand the different types of bits that are used in Western and recreational riding and how they work, so you can make an educated decision on the bit that works best and is comfortable for you and your horse. It's just meant to be a general guide. We're not going to really necessarily focus on any certain discipline. So if you do plan to show, just be sure to check the rules before you actually go to show your horse. So let's go ahead and get started here. We're gonna be talking about just a few different things in this first part that are going to help you understand bits a little bit better, and then we're going to get more in depth as we go. So what is a bit? Well, the bit is the part of the bridle that's inserted into the horse's mouth, and it enables the rider to cue the horse by placing pressure in and around the horse's head and mouth. And the function of the bit is to just basically communicate with your horse. It's a mechanical device, and it is used to help you control the horse's speed and the direction of movement. Now, I do want to let you know that the bit is no different than your body language, your voice cues, your legs, your seat, your hands, any kind of cue that would serve as a tool to help you communicate with your horse. And so you could ride your horse without a bit. You don't even have to have a bit if your horse is trained to respond correctly to other cues. However, I would never suggest you riding without one for obvious safety reasons. The first thing that I want to talk about is, and all of us have probably had trouble with this, is the factors that influence bit selection. So there are several factors that we want to think about when choosing a bit that works for us and our horses. And the first one is probably the style of riding and the traditional type of bit that you would use. So if you are riding in reining classes, if you're ranch riding, if you have a bridle horse, all of those different factors would influence the type of bit that you would choose. You know, you want to choose a bit that works in the discipline that you're riding for. Also, just kind of going along with that are the rules and regulations. I've already mentioned that. If you plan to show your horse, make sure that you check that rule book, and then certain classes have different rules as well. And so just be sure to check on those. You can ask a judge, or a lot of the rules are online now. So that's definitely something to think about. Another factor that would influence bit selection is the level of the horse's training. So you may have a colt that you're just starting out, and obviously that colt would have different needs and then a horse that was more finished. So you could have a horse that doesn't know how to respond to the bit, as opposed to a horse that does know how to respond correctly to the bit. A young colt starting out, we typically start them out in a snaffle, and then as we progress, and I'm going to talk about this bit progression in other parts of these videos, but you would treat that horse differently and choose a different bit for that horse than you would, say, a horse that is a finished bridle horse, where you're just having to use basically your seat and your legs to communicate with that horse. Another thing that we want to think about is the rider's ability. So as we progress as riders, we are more able to communicate with our hands and through the horse's mouth. So obviously a rider who is just beginning, they're going to have balance issues, and we don't want to use a bit with a rider that's inexperienced, that's going to be a more severe bit or a stronger bit on a horse. So as we progress as a rider and we become better at using our seats and our legs and other cues, then we can use a bit that is structured a little bit differently. So definitely consider the rider's ability. We don't want to put an inexperienced rider on a horse with a severe bit and have them, jerking on that horse's mouth on accident. So another factor that influences our bit selection is the conformation of the individual horse. And just like us, horses have different conformation. They are made differently, and their mouths are made differently. So one horse may have thicker lips than another horse, or one horse may have more sensitive bars. And so those are some factors that we need to think about when choosing a bit. Let's go ahead and dive in here. We're going to talk about the two different types of bits that are most common. And the first type of bit that we're going to talk about is called a snaffle bit. And this is a very simple bit. I'm actually going to just talk more about the actual anatomy of the bit. We're going to talk more about the physiology later on. So we're talking about the anatomy, the different parts of the snaffle bit, and then we're going to talk about the function of those parts in a later video. So this is a snaffle bit. And the snaffle bit is very simple. It's made up of two different parts. It's made up of the rings of the bit. And so you can see here this ring is used to attach the reins, and it's used to attach the cheek piece of the bridle, and also a bit hobble on the snaffle bit. And then you have what we call the mouthpiece. And so this is the mouthpiece of the snaffle bit here. And so those are the basic two parts of the snaffle bit, and we're going to get into more of that later. I'm going to talk about the different types of snaffle bits and give you some information about what snaffle bits are in a later video. The next type of bit that we're going to talk about is the curb bit. And this type of bit has a few more parts to it. It is a little bit more complicated. And we really definitely want to think about the type of curb bit that we're using on our horses when we choose a bit for them. So the difference between the snaffle bit and the curb bit is this shank right here. And so this is called the cheek piece, okay, from here to here. And then we have the purchase from here to here. And then we have the actual shank, which would be more from here to here. Now, there are some discrepancies in the way that this is thought of. So one thing to consider, is the cheek piece made up of the purchase and shank, or is the shank made up of the purchase and the cheek? So you may hear different people say it that way. Depends on who's talking about it. The common thing about the shank, the curb bit, is the mouthpiece. And obviously this is the mouthpiece of this curb bit. You can have different types of mouthpieces in a curb bit, just like you can in a snaffle bit. One thing that I want to point out is that the mouthpiece has absolutely nothing to do whether the bit is a curb bit or it's a snaffle bit. And so the real difference is that the curb bit has this cheek piece or shank, and then the snaffle bit has just simply the rings. These are two very different bits in the way that they work. We're going to discuss each one separately in other parts, and hopefully help you guys find a bit that you can use for your horse that will work well for you. I want to continue to talk about these in upcoming episodes. Next week, we're going to talk more about the snaffle bit, and then we're going to talk more about the curb bit and how it functions and works, and how we can choose these different bits for our horses. So just be sure to keep checking us out every week on Horse Sense. We want to encourage you guys to make sure that you are following us on YouTube and on Facebook and our Jackson County Kentucky 4-H Facebook page. And so just make sure that you are following those so you can get upcoming episodes of Horse Sense. And we will see you guys next week.